الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. صلوا على رسول الله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد صلاة تفتح لنا أبواب الرضا والتيسير وتغلق بها عنا أبواب الشر والتحسين. أنت مولانا فنعم المولى ونعم النصير. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا صالحا متقبلا يا رب العالمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. اللهم املأ صدري وقلبي نورا بالنور المحمدي والعلم والفتح المحمدي يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم بيض قلبي ووجهي كما بيضت ثيابي. May Allah make our hearts bright and our faces bright like He has made our clothes white. Say Ameen. I thought of that. You know, in Arabic, when they say qalbuhu hawa, you say his heart is just like air, nothing. Qalbuhu hawa, this means that this person is cowardly. It means that this person has nothing that they stand for because he's empty. You know, and so when a person's heart becomes full of light and it becomes full of knowledge, it gives them that courage. It gives them the ability to stand for what is right. It makes them from مَا آمَنَ مَعَهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. May Allah make us from the qaleel. Say Ameen. You know, I'm sure you've all seen the news of the sister who was a software engineer in Microsoft. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. When all of the sheep are sitting quiet, she stands up as one woman by herself, subhanAllah. Think about it. And you think of the example of the woman of our Islam, of Quran. You think of, Asya alayhi salam. When you think of the mother of Musa, and when you think of even the sister of Musa, when you think of all of the Islamic figures, they were women, but they had strength. They were courageous. And subhanAllah, in the face of the tyrant, in the face of them, despite losing her job, despite it being totally against her, stands up and tells them what they needed to hear. That you are supporting the genocide. That your AI and this code that we're developing is supporting the genocide. This is what happens when the nur gets filled in your heart. This is what happens when you become a person, when your qalb is full. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill our hearts with iman. And to fill our hearts with nur and ilm. If your heart is empty, qalb hawa, then you're going to be jaban, cowardly, cheap. Because there's nothing that you're standing for. When you stand for something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will help you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will help you. You just move the tree a little bit. وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِدْرِنَا. Just move it. Just put the child in the taboot. That's all you have to do. And leave the rest to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Leave the rest to Allah. He'll take care of everything, subhanAllah. Amazing. There was a Yaqeen Institute interview, I was watching it and whatnot. And subhanAllah, job offers are coming left and right from all over the Muslim world. Perhaps even better opportunities than before. Don't ever think Allah will leave you. Don't ever think that Allah will leave you. SubhanAllah. Beautiful lesson in front of us. It happened literally. SubhanAllah. May Allah give us courage, Ya Rabb. The courage to stand up for what is right. Not courage to be annoying to people. Say Ameen. So today we're covering rulings of Imam al-Nawawi in Tibyan. Tibyan fi adab hamalat al-Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on Imam al-Nawawi and to allow us to benefit from his knowledge, Ya Rabbil Alameen. He now goes into ahkam of tilawa. Imam al-Nawawi is one of the greatest imams of fiqh in the Shafi'i madhab. You think of Shafi'i fiqh, you know Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi. And so any of his works, you'll find fiqh always gets into it. Why? Because this is his shughul, this is his san'ah. So Imam al-Nawawi in the book that is titled Adab Hamalat al-Quran, you cannot have adab without ahkam. And so now he goes into some rulings pertaining tilawah. Some rulings pertaining tilawah. We go over the Hanafi madhab. In regards to the tilawah rulings we're going to cover when it comes to in salah. And the Hanafi madhab, qira'ah in salah is a rukun. All of the madhab, recitation of the Quran is a rukun, means a pillar. Can you have salah without Quran? No. The other madhahib, they say Fatiha is a rukun. We say no, simply reading Quran, reciting Quran, even if it's one ayah, ثُمَّ نَظَرْ, we read yesterday, that itself suffices an ayah, that would fulfill the obligation. Does it mean that your salah is good? No. That's not what it means. We're just talking about, we're going to do taqsim, okay? What is from the pillars of salah, what is from the wajibat, the compulsory things in salah that if you miss them, then you have to do sujood sahu, and then from the sunnah of the qira'ah of the Quran, of the recitation of Quran in salah. So number one, the rukun, the pillar that a salah will not be accepted without it, is the recitation of an ayah in 2 units of the fard prayer. In any 2 units. Any 2 units of the fard prayer would fulfill the obligation of the fard salah. Even recitation of, how many ayahs? 1 ayah, okay? Oh, and in the nafil, in every single unit of the prayer, you have to have at least read 1 ayah in each unit of the nafil prayer. We're not talking about how you're supposed to pray. We're talking about splitting the arkan and the wajibat and the sunan so that you know if you make a mistake, how are you going to go about fixing it? You have to have the tools to be able to fix. Okay, so this is the rukun, recitation of 1 ayah, and there's not one specific ayah that has to be read anywhere. Okay. وَلَمْ يَتَعَيَّنْ شَيْءٌ مِّنَ الْقُرْآنِ لِصِحَّةِ الصَّلَاةِ. He mentions this, of course, because other madhahib, they mention that Fatiha specifically must be read. The person behind the imam, should he recite Quran in the Hanafi madhab? No, he should just quietly stay and listen. And I said the Shafi'i madhab, you must read Surah Al-Fatiha. The other madhahib, they make a difference between the out loud prayers and the quiet prayers. The out loud units of salah and the ones that are quiet. So if you, personally I follow this. If I'm behind the imam and he's reciting, I'm going to listen to him. If I'm in the 3rd, 4th rak'ah and he's not reciting, I'm obviously going to recite because I know personally I'm going to become distracted. But all of the madhahib, ala ra'si wal 'ayn, they are our imams. I'm going to go into a little bit more details when we go back to Imam al-Nawawi, okay? And if he recites in the Hanafi madhab, whilst the imam is leading, this is makruh tahrim. This is makruh tahrimi. So it's very disliked. So a person should not do that, okay? This is in regards to the rukun. Now when it comes to the wajib of salah, okay, meaning that if you don't do this, you have to do sujood sahu. If you don't read any Quran, your salah is not accepted. If you miss this, then your salah is accepted, but if you have time, you have to repeat it, and if you do it intentionally, you have to repeat it. This is the wajib. This is that you recite Surah Al-Fatiha, Hanafi madhab, you have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha as a wajib. If you miss it, and I've seen imams sometimes, they're so distracted because of, let's say they're leading Taraweeh. Does it not happen? Or let's say they're leading Eid Salah. Noises here, children playing here, person is playing here, old age is happening, the person, he didn't sleep properly. We're all bashar, people make mistakes. There's videos online of even imams, they completely leave Surah Al-Fatiha. I've seen it. So if they miss it unintentionally, accidentally, they do sujood sahu, it counts. The other madhahib, salah batila, you have to repeat it. You have to repeat it if they miss the Fatiha. Or repeat the rak'ah, however it goes. And it's in 2, and then adding a surah to it, as short as Surah Al-Kawthar, Al-Asr, or 3 small ayahs. If you think of the shorter surah, Allahu Akbar. That's enough to fulfill the wajib and the Hanafi madhab in the fard salah. And this is, in 2 rak'ahs, any 2 rak'ahs, not specifically which ones, it could be the first 2 or 2, 3 maghrib or 3, 4, okay? From the fard salah, and every single rak'ah of the witr salah, and every single rak'ah of the nafil salah, okay? And it's also wajib that recitation be done so in the first 2 rak'ahs, meaning that let's say the first rak'ah there was only recitation of ayah, and then the 2nd and 3rd, or the 3rd and 4th, that's when the person adds the surah, then they would also have to do sujood sahu, okay? And that you do Fatiha and then the surah. Okay, let's say a person forgetfully, Imam of Taraweeh, he's in sajda, he's trying to revise so he doesn't make a mistake when he gets up. Wallahi Rafal, they secretly do this. Allahumma aghfir lahum, say ameen. So instead of saying Sami Allahu liman hamidah, he'll be like, Inna alladhina qalu, mashallah, Inna alladhina qalu madha? Sami Allahu liman hamidah ya habibi, ليش تقرأ في الركوع? You're not supposed to read Quran in ruku' sujood. So the Imam of Taraweeh, he gets up, he's thinking, the ayah, I cannot forget it, where I'm going to begin it, because if I mess up the beginning, khalas, the whole thing is done. If you're smooth in the beginning, you're smooth in the middle, yes? Yes. If you're smooth in the beginning, khalas, you become relaxed. But if you make even one shake in the beginning, khalas, people are going to be, you're going to be thinking that the people, astaghfirullah al-azim. So he gets up, and then he starts reading the surah. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد يا حبيبي أنت ما قرأت الفاتحة, and then he can go back to Fatiha. He can go back to Fatiha. He can go back to Fatiha and then go back to the surah and then do sajda to sahwi. So don't say, okay, finish whatever you're going to read and then go to Fatiha. No, go to Fatiha and then go to your surah and then do your sujood to sahwi. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the wajib. Okay. Now about the sunnah, the best practice, okay, is that a person after Surah Al-Fatiha for Salatul Fajr and Salatul Dhuhr in the Hanafi madhab, he reads from Surah Al-Hujurat until Amma Yatasa'alun, based off of what I would consider Tiwal al-Mufassal, the long Mufassal, and then from the middle for Asr and Isha, from Amma Yatasa'alun until Surah Al-Bayyinah, Surah Al-Duha, however you see it, basically of that length, okay? Like 1-2 pages. Don't make Isha like 5 pages, 4 pages. Fajr should be longer, Isha should be slightly shorter. And then from the short surahs, from the last surahs, Qisar Mufassal for Salat al-Maghrib. Don't make Salat al-Maghrib several pages long. That's how is the best practice that a person can do. Were there instances where the Prophet ﷺ changed it up? Yes, there are instances, okay? So this is just what's should be the average practice of a typical masjid. Maghrib the shortest, Isha longer, and Fajr the longest, because people are taking time to come for the masjid. So this is
surah should be in the order, or can be.
It should be in order. It should of course be in order. The idea is to keep it in that length. You know, like Salat al-Fajr, the example, Surah Al-Hujurat. That's a good amount. Salat al-Isha, don't go and read the length of Surah Qaf and make it very, very long. Make it like something like Juz Amma, and those surahs. So that is the khulasa from the Hanafi madhab that I wanted to mention before I go back to Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi. The ruling he mentions here, okay, and he says, I take great liberty in summarizing these rulings, since they're well known in the books of fiqh. Meaning this class is not a class of fiqh. Class of fiqh is very important, and inshallah for those that are interested, I'm going to go over this entire book. Bi'awnillahi ta'ala, may Allah give tawfiq, say ameen, with Deen Teens. Okay, this is the first text that is studied in the Hanafi madhab. This is one of the first texts that are studied in the Hanafi madhab, and so we're going to go over it with Deen Teens, inshallah ta'ala. So the ruling that he mentions here now is the ruling of the Fatiha. Is it rukn, not a rukn? We'll go into that. He says recitation is obligatory. Qira'ah of Quran is obligatory in the prescribed prayers according to the consensus of the ulama. As I mentioned, is there any salah without Quran? No, you have to have Quran, of course. And then he mentions the khilaf. Now he mentions the difference of opinion. He says the Maliki madhab, the Shafi'i madhab, the Hanbali madhab, and the majority of the scholars, of course Imam al-Nawawi, he's Shafi'i, so he's helping his madhab, okay? He said that reciting Surah Al-Fatiha in every single rak'ah is specifically obligatory for all individuals, okay? And then there's some tafsil of the other madahib if you're a ma'moom. So we're not going to go into that. Let's just say 2 opinions. Okay? Hanafi, it's wajib. Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, rukun. And then he says Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi and a group of scholars, they said that Fatiha is not wajib, but it is what? It's not a rukun, but it's wajib. Okay. And then he says, rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam al-Nawawi, he says the correct opinion is the Shafi'i opinion. Of course, he's Shafi'i, he's going to help everyone is going to be promoting their flag, yes or no? They're going to be promoting their team. So Imam Shafi'i, of course, min kibar Shafi'i, he's promoting his team. And he said, since evidence of the Sunnah has made this clear, it suffices as proof that the Prophet ﷺ, and then he mentions his hadith, okay? So now I want to go into a different discussion pertaining to this mas'ala, but going into a broader theme that I want to make sure that it's ingrained in every single person. And that is how we deal with differences of the fuqaha.
Sheikh, is the recitation about moving lips okay?
We're going to go into that.
Okay.
No, it isn't. You have to recite. So that's a good point. So if you're going to recite Quran in your salah, Salatul Dhuhr, Asr, quietly doesn't mean you just go like this in your head. You have to at least move tahrik al-lisan. You don't have to hear yourself, or even if you just hear yourself, but there has to be tahrik al-lisan. You cannot just be like this. You cannot. You have to do that. So thank you for pointing that out. Now going back to the issue. How do we deal with the differences of the ulama? How do we understand it? Because some people, they have qillat adab, they have no mannerisms, especially in this day. What do? They say, Abu Hanifa, if the Hanafi madhab, they don't follow hadith. I've heard this before. People, they're jahil. They say Abu Hanifa, Hanafi madhab, no hadith. Why? Because the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it says, La salata, there is no salah for the one who does not, liman lam yaqra bi al-kitab. Liman lam yaqra al-kitab. There is no salah for the one who does not recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Look, Abu Hanifa, he doesn't follow sunnah. أنت حبيبي أنت مخط في مكان آخر. Imam Abu Hanifa min al-tabi'in, he's from the tabi'in. You don't think he knows this hadith? You don't think an imam of that status, mujtahid, mutlaq, from the greatest of our imams, doesn't know this simple hadith that is one of the very, very authentic sunnah? أنت لا تفهم. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the person who says this type of thing, they don't have adab. And you know, there's this muddle, there's this disease that has spread in the ummah now, a fiqh of daleel. Hadith, hadith, hadith. So instead of studying instead of studying fiqh from books of fiqh, they'll say, no, we don't want to study Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali. We want to study, what was that? Salatul Nabi, Sifat Salatul Nabi. We want to study how the Prophet did it. No. We don't want to know how Abu Hanifa prayed. We don't want to know how Shafi'i prayed. We don't want to know how Malik prayed. We want to know how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prayed. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So how are they praying, yani? How are they praying? Their own way, yani? Their own style? Their own mazaj, yani? Their own spices that they're making, their own cook? Their own dish? Astaghfirullah. This is, again, shows you the type of su'ul dhann that has spread in the ummah about our great scholars. And this is not how we're supposed to deal with it. When it comes to fiqh rulings and differences of opinion between the ulama, it's not something as simple as a hadith being present or not present. The ulama, they know of all of these ahadith. They know of the entire Quran. They know of the entire sunnah. What they're trying to do is, how can I deal with all of the proofs at one go? How can I do amal, and how can I understand all of these proofs at the same time and come to a conclusion? And each one has their own usul. Each one has their own methodology as to what is prioritized, what is not prioritized, what can be taken, which sahabi are they going through, which madrasa are they going through. It's a long discussion. This is what students spend years and years specializing in. People go simply to get their bachelor's in Sharia, just to get introduced into the field. And then you do your master's, and then you do your PhD, and then you spend your life studying and and giving fatwas and learning. This is what makes a scholar. But to simply open sunnah.com and say hadith says this, how come Abu Hanifa says this? This is wallahi very, very bad. This is very bad. Okay, it's not about asking questions. Ask questions, but it has to come from a place of adab. Now let me go to the discussion of Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam al-Shafi'i, as I said it's a rukun based off of this hadith. La salata liman lam yaqra bi al-kitab. There is no salah for the one who does not read al-kitab. What is the response of the Hanafi madhab? Yes, we do affirm this hadith. Of course, is Abu Hanifa rejecting a hadith? Astaghfirullah al-azim. What's intended here is that la salata kamila. It's nafyul kamal. That it's not complete for the one who does not read bi al-kitab. That's how this hadith is understood. How? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَقَرَأُوا, recite, fi'l amr, command verb, مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْ, whatever you're able to, whatever is easy from it. مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْ. Okay, how do we know this is referring to salah? Because are you commanded to recite Quran outside of salah? Is it fard? No. So it's obviously understood that it's going to be talking about salah. This ayah is talking about salah. So what are you supposed to read from it? مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْ. That's it. Doesn't say Surah Al-Fatiha. And even the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of the Bedouin man who came, he prayed wrong. The Prophet told him, repeat, until then the Prophet instructed him when he asked, and he told him to recite the Quran, ma tayassara min, whatever he is able to. And then the Shafi'i said, okay, but there's other ahadith. There's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whoever does not read from Fatiha al-Kitab, then فَهِيَ خِدَاج, then the salah is khidaj. The Prophet repeats it. Khidaj. The Hanafi say, no, this is actually for us and not against us. How? Because when you say Khadijul Walad, it's a premature baby. The premature baby is still a baby, right? It's still a chance of survival, yes? Okay, so the salah, similar to the premature baby, it's still there, but it's not complete. So like that, the salah is still there, but it's not complete. Okay, of course, I'm not saying that don't read Surah Al-Fatiha in your salah. This is not the discussion here. But it's about understanding the differences of the ulama and how they debate with one another. A simple issue that we would see as rukn and wajib, the scholars have already discussed in hundreds and hundreds of pages within their works. They've already discussed this. And so why I say this? Because the idea and concept of simply going to adillah, opening up Quran and Sunnah, and using them as bullets that you throw at one another, this is not the correct way of going about it. All of our ai of the past, they were always connected to a madhab. Yes or no? Yes or no? Ibn al-Jawzi. What? Hanbali. Imam al-Nasafi. Hanafi. When you think of great scholars, Ibn Hajar. What was he? Shafi'i. When you think of all of the great imams of the past, were they not attributed to a madhab? Yes or no? So it's really a sickness that has spread in the ummah today, and I'm sure it comes and it's sourced from people that are against Islam. I had a long discussion with a Maliki Sudanese scholar in Medina in my time there, where they intentionally knew how to cause strife and problems in the Muslim ummah, so they introduced these ayahs by putting certain figures. Okay, نسأل الله تعالى العون يا رب العالمين. So it's not about which madhab you follow. Like I said, all of the madhab على الرأس والعين. It's about having that respect with our ulama, having that respect with differences of opinion. Because you have to realize that it's not as simple as one hadith or one verse. It's a lot longer than that. It's a long discussion. Okay? And so may Allah give us adab ya Rabbil Alameen. The next issue, and this is the last one that we're going to discuss, that Imam Nawawi mentions. He says there is a consensus, there is an ijma' that from the scholars that it is recommended to recite verses of the Quran after Surah Al-Fatiha and in the first 2 rak'ahs of the other prayers. This is mujma'un alayh. Okay, where's the difference? Now they differ. So Surah Al-Fatiha and a Surah. Surah Al-Fatiha and a Surah, this is something mujma' alayh. Now they have some difference of opinion as to whether it's recommended or not recommended in the 3rd and 4th rak'ahs. In the 3rd and 4th rak'ahs. Hanafi madhab, you don't do it in fard, you do it in the nafil salah. Why? Because each 2 is basically seen as its own prayer. Each 2 is seen as its own prayer. So in the nafil salah, after surah after Fatiha you do another surah. Okay. Now he mentions, Imam al-Shafi'i has 2 opinions on this. In his madhab, you have the Jadid, or you have the Qadim, when he was in Iraq, and the Jadid, when he went to Egypt and he married an Egyptian woman. Yeah, that's not the reason why he changed the madhab. I'm just joking around with you. Okay, so the newer position, the Jadid, is that it is recommended. While the older one is that it is not. Whether you recite a surah in the 3rd or 4th in the Shafi'i madhab. I already said the Hanafi madhab is what? Fard salah, you do it? 3rd, 4th? No. Sunnah nafil, you do? Yes. Witr? Yes. Come on, you guys pray behind me, Hanafi witr. You read the surah after. So our Shafi'i companions, they state that if we hold that it is recommended, then there is no difference of opinion that it is indeed recommended that the recitation in the 3rd and 4th should be shorter than the recitation in the first 2. So if you're going to follow the opinion where each surah, there should be a surah after Fatiha, then the 3rd and 4th rak'ahs should have smaller surahs and shorter surahs than the 1st and 2nd. Okay? Now, and they say that the recitation in 3 and 4 should be equivalent, should be around the same. Okay? So it's not like you go extra large, medium, small. No, it's not like that. Okay, it's not like that. Okay, you keep the same length for 3rd and 4th. Now he asks a beautiful question. Okay, this is for those that ever lead salah. Pay attention to this. Should the recitation in the first rak'ah be made longer than the second? Should the first rak'ah be longer than the second? Yes or no? Yes. What's the reasoning behind it? So that people can catch the jama'ah without having to make up rak'at. So the imam should consider this and should make the first rak'ah intentionally longer in order for more people to attend. Let's say the imam, he's reading 2 pages. If he does 1.5 page first rak'ah and then second rak'ah he does half a page, then he has balanced it in a way that more people can be able to attend the first takbirat al-ihram and they don't have to make up rak'at. But let's say in the first rak'ah he goes inna a'tainaka al-kawthar and then the second rak'ah he does Surah Al-Baqarah. Habibi, everyone is missing the salah because of you. Every time you're doing the first rak'ah, too quick. You have to make the first one shwaya. Even the first ruku', you'll notice I make it longer. Why? Because I know people are still trying to come from their jobs, people are trying to come from home, they're driving, they're commuting, whatever it may be. And so if you make the first one intentionally longer, you're able to pull more people in that make the first takbiratul ihram. So then he goes, he says the sounder, there are two opinions. The sounder opinion, according to the muhaqqiqun, is that the recitation in the first rak'ah be made long. This is the preferred opinion, as I mentioned, because of the rigorously authenticated hadith stating that the Prophet ﷺ, he would lengthen his recitation in the first rak'ah, unlike the length in the second. So the first rak'ah, making it longer, was the sunnah of our Al-Habib al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then he says the benefit of this is that, of course, someone who came late can make the first rak'ah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us beneficial knowledge and to grant us adab with our ulama and adab when it comes to differences of opinion that are valid within the four madhahib. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم.
Sheikh, then I think that you didn't answer that question properly. That the first rakah, then second rakah, the surah should be in the order. Somebody recite from Al Imran and then second rakah they can recite from Baqarah.
Oh, so this is the question he had asked. So, can a person recite from Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al Imran in the first rakah, and then go back to Surah Al-Baqarah in the second rak'ah? Is it allowed? Is your salah valid? Yes, but it's not the better thing to do. If a person does it, don't go scream at them, anta mujrim, anta, why are you doing this? I know this happens in the masjid when I'm not here. You guys cause problems when I'm not here, but I'm here. Alhamdulillah, al-umur jayyida, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. نسأل الله تعالى أن يلطف بنا. نسأل الله تعالى أن يهدينا. Alhamdulillah. Okay? But if a person does it, shway. People make mistakes. We don't have to.
But it's not mandatory, right?
It's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory.
خلاص خليكم.
Not mandatory.
So, you don't agree there. You don't agree there.
He added